Stop. Hammer time. This is the first video that I'm just gonna try to do on my phone because I really don't care. Started off with this piece of brass scrap, brass round stock. Really just quickly mashed a hole through it on the mill and put a chamfer on there on the sander, cleaned up the ends. I know focus is going to be fucked for this whole thing, but I didn't plan on filming this, and it's cold, my nose is running, and excuses exist. So anyways, this is what I started with. Knew I wanted a smaller hammer because I have a large brass hammer, but it really is too big for a lot of the stuff I want to do. So I need a little tap hammer, and this is what that's going to be. After I dug this out, got it all done, I knew I needed to move on to the handle portion, which this seems a little bit easier now that I've done it once, just because I know what's got to go into it. But I just drew up this quick sketch after pretty much tracing that out, figuring out what my sizing is going to be. I just drew up a decent design of what I think will work fairly well. I'm going to trace that onto one of these, but I had to find the correct wood first. This is all old stuff, white oak from back in high school, I believe, a couple years back. So I had a couple of boards to choose from, like 4 or 5 stuff like this that I had used for other stuff. Looking for a good grain pattern. This one actually would have worked too. I don't know if it's long enough, but anyways, I found this board. It was a little bit longer, about there. Chopped it up. Looking at what I want for a straight grain pattern. So as you can see, you're gonna want to probably be choosing from these two. Which one of them? I would say that the one on the right is a little bit better. Not that this one is horrible or bad, but I think I'll stick with this guy. So I've got a blank here. I don't have a lathe to turn this on, so it's going to be very rough. I'm not trying to make this perfect in any way. I really actually don't give a fuck, but my other one was pretty decent, but that used a stick essentially, and I just made that work. This I'm actually using a wood blank, and I'm going to try and turn it into something decent using, I guess I'm going to try and carve a lot of it, sanding, blah blah blah, and we'll make it work. We've got the good grain pattern, and I guess I'll just go forth into trying to get this done. I'm going to mask this out onto here, possibly cut out the shape, and then move forward from there. So I'll get back to you on the next step. Alright, just roughly traced it out with the X-Acto knife, cutting out the paper template. I don't even know if you're going to be able to see the cut lines. Very rough, just to get it started. I'm trying to remove material here, and then I'll just flip it and try to replicate that on the other side. Again, this isn't supposed to be something that's exactly perfect. This is just a rough hammer. So next step is going to be cutting that out on the jigsaw, or whatever the hell I decide to use. Focus is going to be tough on this. Holy Nikes. Okay, bye. That went horribly because shitty tools mean shitty outcomes, usually. Unless you're a craftsman or something. I don't know how that goes. Anyways, this, normally, if you had a vertical bandsaw or something with any rigidity or anything that worked, you would cut along those contours, and then you'd save your scraps, glue them or attach them somehow, and then do this angle. I didn't have that luxury because the tool I was using really just made things difficult, wasn't cutting very well. So I think I might come back and take out some of it with the saw I was using, but Mainly I think there's going to be a lot of sanding going on and a lot of carving. So anyways, next step. Okay, after a quick run on the belt sander, I cleaned up a lot of the screwed up shit. It's still very rough at this point, still squared off. Just starting to go into the angles and arcs and all that jazz before I start trying to round it off and do some final fitting. But that is a large part of the process done. I've been working on this for, I don't know, 15 minutes now. So next step will be update probably on having everything rounded over, and I'll see you then. 3.5 decades of sanding on the belt sander. We are getting somewhere close to where I want to be. Obviously, I'm gonna have to find a different way to get that turned down to what I need it to be to fit inside the hole, get the shaft in the hole, so to speak. But gonna take fine tuning on the top part there because I just don't have tools that can get into that concave area without ruining it. So I'm gonna have to end up carving it or something along those lines. But yeah, some finish sanding and the handle is getting closer to being done. Ooh. Most amount of time has been spent trying to get that fit on there, fitting the head. Not overly pretty, but does seem to work, so I will go ahead and put a finish on it. My biggest concern, which is usually my biggest issue, is A, getting this to focus, and B, putting a anchor in there of some sort to keep the head from coming off, but gotta wedge it, bruh. So I don't know, I'll figure something out. Just need to figure out how to cut it without having it split the whole thing, which has happened before, but I'll see what I can come up with and hopefully come back to you with the finished product. Okay, not sure why my light turned on here, but I bought some wedges. That's the only thing I've bought for this. Other stuff I already had. I believe I'm going to use the smallest one here. And seat that guy in there. Also plan on giving it a coat of tung oil or something at least before I do that, so that it is sealed underneath. But I'm not sure if I want to cut a groove there or just go for it because I'm using a metal wedge and not a wood wedge. Normally you would cut directly vertical there with pound a wood wedge in and then use this other one to anchor it in. But I think I'm just going to use that guy, so I'm not sure if I'm going to even cut a groove there. We shall see. Alright, donezo. It did split like I expected it would do. It did not go centered like I expected it to. I cut a bit of a slit just to try and get it to separate more evenly right down the center, but it kind of followed its own path either way. But it should be good to go. Very solid. It's not wobbling at all, so I think it's good. Just a thin coat of tung oil on there right now just to get it under where the head sits and everything. I will probably put more on afterwards, but essentially right now it is a finished product. So there it is. I probably should weigh the head, but you know, whatever. It'll do what I need it to. So ready to hit some shit. Thanks for watching. Yeah.